There was a morning when everything in me wanted to break my plan. You know that feeling, screen bright, pulse quick, the market moving just enough to whisper, "Take it, who's going to know?" I had my rules written clearly. Entry, risk, exit, time cutoff. But rules are wonderful until pressure arrives. Pressure will always test what you believe about yourself. That morning, I stared at a setup that checked half my boxes. Old me would have taken it. Not because it was good, but because I felt fragile. I wanted relief more than I wanted congruence. And for the first time in a long time, I felt that tiny negotiation start in my chest. It's close enough. You can adjust it later. Just this once. I closed my eyes and did something I hadn't done before. I reached for the thing beneath the rules, not the checklist, the vow. I whispered it quietly, almost like I was reminding myself who I am. I am bound to my word before I am bound to an outcome. I could feel my body settle. The negotiation ended. I passed on the trade. It rolled over 5 minutes later. That was the day I understood the difference between rules and a contract. Rules tell you what to do. A contract tells you who you are. Rules bend under heat, and a contract holds, because it carries the weight of identity. Today I want to tell you what I mean by the sacred contract. Not as a motivational phrase, but as the real mechanism that keeps the sacred trader steady when the market gets loud. If you've traded long enough, you've already learned this. Information doesn't equal obedience. You can write a flawless plan and still blow it up in 30 seconds. Why? Because plans live in the rational mind. Pressure lives in the body. When the market heats up, your nervous system takes the wheel. It doesn't ask your checklist for permission. This is why so many traders oscillate between over-engineering their systems and over-judging themselves for breaking them. They add filters, then filters to the filters, and so on. They lecture themselves with more logic, but logic doesn't hold when your identity is frightened. When your worth is hooked to the next tick, intelligence becomes a very eloquent accomplice to sabotage. The sacred contract solves a deeper problem. It reconnects behavior to identity. It's not another document on your desk. It is the binding relationship between who you say you are and how you act when it costs you. The sacred contract is a vow you make to yourself about your way of being at the screen. It's not a list of tactical rules, even though it protects them. It's the covenant that your identity makes with your behavior. It converts the fragile energy of willpower into the stable energy of devotion. A rule says, exit at X. A vow says, I don't stay where I don't belong. A rule says, no trades after 10:30. A vow says, I honor endings on time because my peace is more valuable than another coin toss. And a rule says, risk 1R. A vow will tell you, I protect my future self from the heat of my current emotion. You see the difference? The rules govern decisions, and the contracts governs you. I anchor the sacred contract in the same foundation we've already explored: frequency, embodiment, and resonance. Frequency is the state I bring to the vow. If my frequency is scarcity, the contract feels punitive, something to escape. If my frequency is devotion, the contract feels like a sanctuary, something to rest in. Before the contract can protect me, my state must stop attacking me. Embodiment. It is the carrier of the vow. A contract written with tense shoulders and a clenched jaw is a contract I'll break. I have to put the vow in my body, breath, posture, stillness, so that when pressure rises, my nervous system remembers a different path. And resonance. It is the mirror. The market will reflect the contract I keep. If I keep it begrudgingly, I attract begrudging results, drama, second-guessing, almost wins. If I keep it cleanly, I attract clean clarity. Take, pass, stop, leave. The resonance of my vow shows up in the texture of my day. I didn't call it sacred to sound poetic. I called it sacred because it involves consecration, the setting apart of something for a higher purpose. I am not making a vow to my ego. I am not making a vow to the market. I am making a vow to the part of me that is steady, honest, devoted, and trustworthy. That part exists even on losing days. When I treat this vow as sacred, I stop using it to manipulate results and start using it to cultivate integrity. The outcome benefits, yes, but the point is who I become by keeping my word when it would be easier not to. That change can be backtested. It's lived. Let's talk about what happens in the alive space. Mid-candle, heart rate up, cursor hovering. This is where rules and vows diverge. Rules ask for compliance. They tell you what you should do and hope you do it. Vows collapse debate. They don't remove thinking, they remove bargaining. When a vow is live in your body, you don't spend energy justifying exceptions. Your energy is free to perceive, decide, and act. Here's a snapshot from my own trading. I'm in a trade that's pulling back towards my stop. Old identity starts whispering, nudge it, give it room. This one's special. Slide your stop just a little bit. The rule says, don't move the stop. The vow says, I do not fund my fear with future regret. The rule describes a behavior, whereas the vow names a self. And when the self speaks, the negotiation ends. A contract doesn't break because the market got tricky. It breaks because something in me decided to be someone else for a moment. I trade as the desperate trader again, or the perfectionist, or the overachiever. Those identities love loopholes. They are fluent in exceptions. But here's what doesn't break the contract. A clean loss. A stopped-out trade that honored entry, risk, and exit is not a broken vow. It's fidelity. That distinction matters. Too many traders treat every loss like a moral failure and treat every rule break like a clever save. That's inverted morality. The sacred contract corrects it. Loss is our tuition, betrayal is the debt. A contract that requires a courtroom is a contract you'll abandon. It must be simple enough to recall under adrenaline. If you need to interpret it, you won't keep it. If you need to calculate it, you'll postpone it. A sacred contract is short, declarative, identity anchored, and memorable. I don't need paragraphs when I am in the furnace. I need a sentence that slices through smoke. I am the trader who closes with honor. I keep time like a vow. I do not water fear with hope. And these are not slogans, they are anchors. One of the most sacred parts of my vow is time. Not because the market cares about my schedule, but because I care about my life. Ending on time is not a productivity hack. It is an identity statement. I refuse to sacrifice presence with the people I love to worship the possibility of one more trade. When I traded as the desperate trader, time was soft clay. 10 more minutes. One more look. Another little exception. Desperation believes the market owes it a scene change if it just stays long enough. Devotion knows that leaving on time is the win. So my contract tells me what it means. It says, when the hour arrives, I am done. Not because the market says so, but because I have chosen a larger allegiance. Risk management is often taught like math. Necessary? Yes, but incomplete. Risk in the sacred contract is a covenant with my future self. It is the pledge I make that future me will not pay the bill for present me's adrenaline. When I fix my risk, I'm not only selecting a number, I'm preserving the continuity of my character across time. I'm promising the person who will eat dinner with my family tonight that I will not hand him a version of me he has to recover from. Numbers matter. Spreadsheets matter. But covenant is what makes the numbers keepable when emotion begs for indulgence. The market has weather. Clusters of wicks, ranges, breakouts, fakeouts, market structure shifts, fair value gaps, order blocks, you name it. Your inner world has weather too. Some mornings arrive with fog, others with wind, some with blue sky, and those can be the most dangerous if you think sunshine is the same as invincibility. The sacred contract does not ask for a clear sky. It asks for truthful reporting. If I am jittery, the vow doesn't shame me. It tells me how to trade a jittery day. More caution, smaller size, fewer attempts. If I am centered, it lets me step fully into opportunity. The contract isn't a cage, it's a climate policy. It governs the day you actually have, not the day you wish you had. This is why the contract begins with honesty. If I lie to myself about my weather, I'll design a day that betrays me. People ask me, what about the gray zones? The almost setups, the outlier days, the new patterns? I don't avoid edges. I just refuse to test edges with my identity on the line. When I explore on purpose, in a separate bucket, with a separate expectation. The sacred contract includes a clause for exploration. Discovery is welcomed, but never under the banner of need. If I am trading to fix a feeling, I am not discovering, I am dissolving. The contract speaks to edges like a wise boundary. You're allowed to learn, but you are not allowed to lie about why you're learning. That clarity keeps curiosity pure. And temptation doesn't shout, break your rules. It asks sweeter questions. Are you sure your rule applies today? Hasn't your growth earned you some flexibility? Isn't intuition part of mastery? Those are clever questions because they seem sophisticated. They recruit your intelligence to argue against your integrity. The vow answers with a different kind of intelligence, identity intelligence. I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself when nobody is watching. That sentence disarms sophistication. Temptation wants a debate. A vow offers a declaration. So let's be honest. You will break your contract sometimes. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're human. When I do, here's what I've learned. Guilt is a terrible repair tool. Guilt keeps you in self-punishment cycles that ironically lead to more rule breaking. The market doesn't need your shame. It needs your clarity. Repair begins with naming, not numbing. I broke my vow here. Then restoring. The boundary immediately, closing positions, turning screens off, writing what happened plainly, then returning to the next session with the contract visible again. The sacredness of the contract is not its perfection. It is recoverability. I do not quit because I'm imperfect. I continue because I'm devoted. Eventually, your vow stops being an internal promise and becomes a culture in your space. Your desk reflects it, your notes reflect it. Your family feels it. They know that when you say you'll end at a time, you'll end. They know a loss will not infect the rest of the day. They know you're not using trading to hide from your life, and you're not using your life to escape your trading. That culture is priceless. It compounds. One person with a tender, trustworthy contract is worth more in a home than 10 green days strung together by anxiety. People will ask, okay, but did it help your P&L? Yes, but not at first. First, it helped my breathing, then my presence, then my decision latency, then my post-trade peace. Results followed the restoration of self. Because here's the real secret. The sacred contract doesn't primarily change your entries. It changes your exits from trades, from sessions, from arguments with the market. It gives you the power to end with honor. And when endings become honorable, beginnings become clear. You've seen the architecture by now. Identity gave me the new name, sacred trader instead of desperate trader. The 3 laws gave me the physics, frequency, embodiment, and resonance. The morning engine gave me the ignition, how to arrive at the screen as the person I vowed to be. The sacred contract now gives me the bond, the covenant that holds me steady when pressure asks me to be someone smaller. This is why I don't teach tactics in a vacuum. Without a contract, tactics become decorations on a shaky table. With a contract, even a simple plan gains weight and longevity. Let me tell you 2 brief stories that still live in my bones. I was up early, already agitated. I knew I should have taken a beat, but I convinced myself time was scarce. I took an impulsive trade outside my plan, rationalized it in real time, then compounded the error by moving my stop. I felt the shame before the loss printed. But the worst part came later. When I walked into the next room and was short-tempered with people who had nothing to do with my chart, that's the ripple effect of a broken vow. It rarely ends at your desk. Different day, same potential spiral, a misfill, then a reversal. That would have been a nice win if I had been in it. I felt the tug. You owe yourself a makeup. I breathed, read a single sentence, anchored beside my screen. I don't go where I'm not invited. The vow held. I ended on time. I walked into the next room light. The market did not grant me that feeling. My contract with myself did. Those 2 days had similar external conditions. Inside was the difference. The vow was the difference. Sometimes people hear contract and imagine a sterile, robotic trader devoid of humanity. The sacred trader is anything but. I'm not trying to remove soul from trading. I'm removing self-betrayal from it. The vow creates a spacious, humane arena where intuition can play safely because boundaries are clear. I value creativity. I value listening. I value flow. But flow without form becomes flood. The contract is the riverbank that turns flow into movement, not mess. Keeping a vow costs you opportunities that never belonged to you. It costs you the illusion of control. It costs you the drama your nervous system thinks it wants. There are days I end on time and the market runs without me. I feel the sting, I breathe. And I remember I didn't come here to worship what if. I came here to live in truth. The cost of not keeping it is heavier. It's the weight you carry into the rooms that are supposed to be safe. It's the slow erosion of self-trust. It's the way your reflection looks at you when you break your word for the 10th time and pretend you didn't notice. I would rather feel the burn of honoring a boundary than the ache of dishonoring myself. The burn passes. The ache lingers. A living vow matures with you. I've retired clauses that belong to earlier seasons and added clauses that serve the one I'm in. But notice the order. I evolve the contract between sessions, not inside them. Mid-trade is not the place to edit soul documents. Heat distorts judgment. Cool air writes better vows. Chew on that. So I let experience inform the next draft. The vow changes because I am becoming more myself, not because I got bored or wanted more action. One of the tenderest parts of the sacred contract is the evening clause. I don't mean a journal prompt. I mean the line that says, I close the day with gratitude for the chance to practice. Some days that sentence catches in my throat. Gratitude feels expensive when I'm read, but that is exactly when the contract saves me from cynicism. The vow ends the day in the same spirit it began, not with triumphalism, not with self-flagellation, but with devotion. I showed up. I kept faith where I could. I repaired where I didn't. I released the rest. I wish someone had told me that discipline without devotion becomes cruelty. I wish someone had told me that the reason rules felt suffocating was because I used them to prove my worth, not protect my peace. I wish someone had told me that a vow is not a prison. It is a promise to stop living like I'm at the mercy of my latest emotion. I learned it the long way. You don't have to. I don't know what your markets will do tomorrow. I do know what pressure will do. It will ask you to negotiate with yourself. It will offer you small exits from integrity, very reasonably packaged. The sacred contract is how you smile at that offer and say, no, thank you. I already have an agreement. It's how you end on time even when there's movement. How you honor a stop even when your chest is loud. How you leave the desk unbroken even when the day didn't go your way. It isn't glamorous. It is holy. If this spoke to you, keep walking with me. In the next episode, we'll take this vow into the heat of execution. Entries, adds, exits. And you'll see how the contract simplifies decision without draining your intuition. And if you want to walk this path with guidance, depth, and a community that keeps vows with you, that's why the Sacred Trader program exists. You'll find it below. Trade well and live sacred.